I received this message from at least, I don't know, not even exaggerating, 30 people that they hacked the NES Classic Edition. And before you get on me, I knew it was going to happen at some point. I'm not a total idiot. I knew they were going to unlock it. But I did tweet out that it wouldn't be a big deal if it happened, which I still don't think it is, but I'll get into. And I don't think it would affect much. So before I get into that, do I think it's cool that they hacked the NES Classic Edition? Absolutely. I think it's really cool that they dug into there. Because if nothing else on the NES Classic Edition, it's a convenience. It's the cool look of it, the shell. And the GUI, the graphical user interface, is really, really just highly polished. You didn't expect anything less from Nintendo, but you didn't expect this to be like a fucking MAME front end just listing out the games and then having a screenshot of each game. And, you know, like this is very, really well put together, besides the really cute, bubbly music you have on there. And yeah, you have the 3 different options, and you only have 4 save states, which I'll get into for each game. So, modders both in Russia and Japan hacked this. And from what I see, let's see, have we gotten to over 90 games yet that you can put on this? It's about 90. I saw one video where it was 84. So, one of the issues here, and one of the reasons why I said quote unquote doesn't matter, is that this is not an easy out of the box sort of solution for playing all these games. Before I get into the issue of the fact that you can't get the entire library on there right now, that might change. But the process for doing this, without getting into the nitty gritty, there's no like SD card slot on the NES Classic Edition. It's locked. So you have to hook it up and have it recognized basically as a hard drive device on your computer via a program. Was it Ubuntu? Did I say that correctly? Then after you do that, you run a program where you can basically you have to do a few different things. You have to get the ROM for each game, but then you have to get the box art on there as well, since that's also on the interface. From what I saw was cool, because after you put in the name and everything, you can search for the image yourself, or add it from your computer, but it's built in. The search function is built in, so you can go and grab the box art image. And all the NES games have had their boxes scanned. They're out there on Cover Project, other sites. So, yeah, this whole process is repacking the hardware's kernel. You got to flash the hardware. Again, it's not extremely complicated. It's just a little bit of a pain in the ass to do that. You have to add all these games manually, go through the steps of each one, putting in all the information for it, title, year it came out, number of players, basically everything you see in the NES Classic Edition menu, a number of players, you have to do here as well. Will I do this at some point? Maybe. One person got on me on Twitter saying, "Pat, you don't like this because it's too complicated for you. You're old." Oh my God. You're talking to someone that's dealt with flashcards before, and I freaking constructed my own goddamn MAME cabinet and wired up my own control panel with like 60 inputs. So that's not it. I'm just thinking about, who is this for, this hack? And who are you going to reach with this hack? That's what my concern is. Because right now, the only amount of memory they've been able to access has been enough to get about 90 games on it. So that's a problem right there if you can't get every game on there. Then again, God help you if you're going to sit there, and some people would sit there and manually add 800 plus NES games onto this fucking thing, including NWC and everything, which could be absolutely cool. And you're telling me people out there are going to fucking sit there and then manually add on, let's see, you're going to sit there and add on Dirty Harry? You're going to sit there and add on, let's see, Othello and Orb 3D? Think you're going to play those at some point? No, that's not happening. No. So again, if this was an easier process where I could add all this shit at one time, that would be different. If I could add all the games, you can't even do that. But to manually add them all just sounds like the biggest pain in the ass. Again, if I do it, sure, I'll add on like, it'd be like my M82. I'll add on like 20, 25 games. That could be cool to add on. Or, if you have someone you want to give one to, you have a girlfriend or something, you remember the games that she liked. Actually, now I think about it, that's something I would probably do. If I had a friend or girlfriend and their favorite games before I gave it to them as a present, you know what? I would do that, knowing that these are the only games they will ever play for the NES, so I could add them for her, and then she can never shut up. She can shut up about ever borrowing my NES and games again, because the first time she did that, she never ended up playing them, and then threw them back at me when we broke up. What am I talking about? Anyway, back to the NES Classic Edition. So I'm hoping they can at least unlock more memory inside of this thing, more space, so that you can add the rest of the games here. I did see one cool thing, though. One cool thing that I spoke about was a big shame, was that you cannot reset the system, soft reset it to the main menu to change games or do anything with the save states, suspend points, excuse me. You can't do that with the main controller. They might try to get that functionality in through reflashing it. That's cool. I like that. But at the end of the day, though, why I say this doesn't really matter that much is because you're going to tell me you're going to seek out something that's already really hard to find, which, by the way, Reiji Fils-Aimé did an interview with Wired where he said that it's just what he's repeating what's being told to him, that we didn't participate, people will be interested in this product, which is insane. That means their market research should be freaking fired. But that's what he said, but it's not limited edition. That they're still producing them. I saw an article that Target got more back in recently. They're going to still come out with them. Nintendo likes money at the end of the day. It's not just, but their market research person should absolutely be fired at the end of the day. But still, even if these are widely available, what percentage of people would bother to go through this and actually are going to buy it? And Nintendo doesn't care. What, are you going to tell me even 10 or 15% of the people buying this are going to bother with this mod through this process? They're going to bother with, okay, I got to download the software, connect it to my computer, manually add all these ROMs, go out on the internet and find them. I got to find the images, and I got to manually put in the information and then flash this sucker and hopefully don't brick it. And by the way, this is before Nintendo finds out about this and then comes out with a new iteration of the system where they block out this mod. Like they do with like the DSs and the 3DSs in the past with flashcards. So you're going to tell me, hey, Pat, it's easy to do that. Yes, it's easy to do that if you're in this world, but that's not what the audience of the NES Classic Edition even is. This is for people that have not gone through the multitude of ways that you could have already played an emulator on your TV or at all gotten every NES game you want. I think I wrote down most of them because I knew this was going to come up. Here are the other options that you could have played up to this point. All of the classic NES games you could have possibly wanted in all the different formats, controller, real controller or not. Here are the ways you could have done that. Here's another HDMI. Before you say this, you're going to say, oh, Pat, well, this is HDMI. There's a ton of other ways you could have done this already with HDMI. Ready? Hacked into your Retron 5 and added the ROMs, which has been, I think, after 2 months that system was out, they did that. So it's been 2 years. So you could have hacked into your Retron 5 and played every fucking ROM you could possibly want on the NES and other systems, and that's HDMI. You could have run ROMs and emulators on a flash card on your DS or DS Lite, or I think the early 3DSs. I know that's HDMI, but that's another method that's been out there you could have done for the past 10 years. Hack your Wii to run all the ROMs you want on the emulators on there, not just for NES games, but the other systems out there on the Wii. And no, it's not totally HD. It's only 480p at the end of the day, but you could have done that. You can get a hacked Xbox to run all the arcade emulators and console emulators out there. You could have done that in the past fucking 10 years. And two of my favorite ones that you could do, because people say, well, Pat, why don't you just use an emulator to play games? Okay, you can get an emulator with HDMI output and hook it up easily nowadays to a TV. Your laptop or desktop, but even your laptop, you can do that and play your emulators, or hell, even some Android devices, tablets, you can do that. Or my favorite one, the one I've been starting to use, get a good old flash card out there and put on all the NES ROMs you want, and then buy a retro AVS system and play it on beautiful 720p with no lag, and there you have it. Several ways You could have done exactly what the NES Classic Edition hack is doing for you now, except with these other ways, you can get all the games and you're not limited to 90, and you're not taking, 14 years out of your life to add them in manually. So again, it's cool. It's not for me at this point in my life. Will I probably do this at some point? Yes, I probably will get around to it at some point and hack into the NES Classic Editions. But Nintendo has no need to panic, because it's not like they're gonna. It's not like it's gonna affect them in any way. They're still gonna sell tons of them. So at the end of the day, though, when you're attempting to do this, you're really then just paying $60 or more to get a fancy looking mini NES, and you're really paying for Nintendo's really polished, GUI interface. Oh, I forgot one other method you could have used, or probably have used. How about a fucking a RetroPie, a Raspberry Pi 2 little unit, where you can get and that's HDMI output with USB ports that you can get an adapter for an NES controller or whatever else, or Super Nintendo. That's the first one I should have fucking ran through my head, is that you could have got a RetroPie or Raspberry Pi 2 and put on all the emulators you wanted to. And it's a hell of a lot easier than what this has here. Maybe they'll be able to pull off the software off the NES Classic Edition and then add it and use that emulator, which, by the way, I don't think it runs all the games perfectly. There's some issues, but pull that emulator off of there in the interface and then put it on a computer. That could be cool. That to me would be a lot cooler. Then Nintendo would come after you and hunt you down to the ends of the earth if you did that. So once again, I'm not poo-pooing it. I think it's cool. I've been involved with, I've had a freaking flash card for my DS in the past. It's good for playing Civilization on airplanes and anything else, or freaking Contra. So we'll see where this heads in the future. But talk to me when this is a little bit easier to do, when you can do sort of a mass upload or mass file adding to the system all at once, and when you can get enough space on here to include the entire NES library, or at least more than 90 games, which, by the way, from what I've heard from people, the more games you add, the less save points or suspend points you have on the NES Classic Edition as well, so that's an issue.